Hello, and welcome to the Growing Our Family podcast, Pregnancy Edition, where we'll discuss topics ranging from your very first positive test all the way through delivery. I'm your host, Brittany, and I'm a new mom to a beautiful baby boy. Throughout my pregnancy, I did hours of research on everything that came my way. Join me on a weekly chat where I'll share my knowledge and personal experiences with all of you. You are listening to episode 3, Packing Your Hospital Bag. Today, I'm going to go over the items that I had on my list versus what I actually used in the hospital. And I know everyone's going to be different based off of what your hospital supplies for you and what you think are the best items, just really based off of personal experiences. But this is what I thought that I needed from my personal experiences. I was induced and had a 29-hour labor. So therefore, I had to use a lot of past the time items that most moms in active labor are definitely not going to need. Once I got my epidural, it was so nice to have my iPad and Netflix so I could try to kill some time while I was chained to my bed. And I'll be linking to my birth story on the show notes today for anyone who might be interested in hearing about how my labor went. But for now, I hope this gives you some ideas on what or what not to pack. So a couple of tips. First is the TV in most hospital rooms play from the little remote that's connected to your bed. So it was so hard to hear what was going on. And I really enjoyed having my iPad and headphones. And that way my husband and I could watch different shows, and I didn't really use the other TV. Also, if you waited too long, it would reset and whatever movie you were watching would start back at 0 and you had to go through and watch like the hospital video and everything. So it was really obnoxious. I really enjoyed having my iPad with me. Second, the hospital did not feed my husband, and he did not leave my side once from Sunday till Thursday. So he pretty much survived off of the snacks that I brought in and any food that the guests brought for him. I'm pretty sure he had about 12 pear cups, like the little fruit snack cups that you can buy at the grocery store. And that was his main source of food for the whole time we were in the hospital. The next tip is you never know what kind of labor you're going to have. I was in perfect health up until my 36-week appointment. And then I was told I had to be induced for gestational hypertension 3 days later. And if I had already passed the 37-week mark, they would have just sent me right over to L&D. I wouldn't have had time to even go home, change, or do anything. So really, I would highly suggest having your hospital bag packed and in your car by the 37-week mark, because that's really when they will induce you just for any medical reasons. And you never really know when things are going to pop up. I would pack your hospital bag in a rolling suitcase. It was so much easier to get around, and you can pack all of your goodies, which goodies, I mean like the free pads and underwear and diapers they send you home with. And you can put those in a bag and strap those onto the top of your suitcase and wheel those out. So I was able to wheel that out while my husband carried the baby. And it was really nice. I was glad we didn't have to carry anything, and I could just kind of roll the suitcase on out to the car. Pack your birth bag in a small tote. And I really enjoyed this because I was in labor for so long that all my labor-related items were in a smaller bag, and I didn't have to go digging through my suitcase for anything until after we moved into the postpartum room. So I really enjoyed having them in 2 separate bags, so I didn't have to explain to my husband where things were, because, again, I had my epidural, so I couldn't get up. And, my husband is amazing, but sometimes trying to explain to him, like, where to find my chapstick in a giant suitcase, it's way easier if it's just in a small bag. My hospital provided me with an amazing hospital-grade pump when baby wouldn't latch, so I didn't need my personal pump. However, feel free to bring in your personal pump with you if you want any help setting it up or figuring out how to work it or checking the flange size, really anything, they have nurses and lactation consultants at the hospital that can totally help you if you have any questions at all. And sometimes it's just better to see how it works versus trying to read the instructions online. So now on to what I packed. Well, everyone kept telling me less is more. And even though I believe that was true, it was so hard to limit the items on my list. I would, watch YouTube videos of what people packed in their hospital bag, and I would look at lists, and it seemed like everyone had different necessities. One person said that they absolutely needed this item. They couldn't have done it without it. And then the very next review I looked at said, oh, you don't need that at all. I never used it. So I made a master list that really included everything that any mom ever said was a necessity. And that way I could decide for myself what I thought I would want. If you call your hospital, they'll tell you what items they provide, and that will help cut down your list right there. Some hospitals provide so much for the moms after birth, and they provide diapers and wipes for the baby and all of that, and that'll significantly reduce your hospital bag. But other hospitals don't provide any of that stuff, so you're going to want to make sure you bring it. And the only way you're going to know is to call the hospital that you plan to deliver at and ask them. The thing about all those lists that talk about the necessities or what you don't actually need at the hospital is my list was different than almost every other list I looked at. So I really don't think you're going to know what to bring versus what to leave at home until actually going through this yourself. And you're going to know you better than anyone else. Some people could not imagine not putting on makeup after delivery. You want to take photos and you want to have those memories. And a lot of women just want to look, like they normally do. If you wear makeup or, I don't wear makeup very often. And so I did not even touch my makeup bag, which I brought the whole thing. And I didn't use any makeup whatsoever. And on the other hand, I thought I wouldn't want any tight clothing on because I was like, I'm going to go through delivery. I'm going to want a big pair of sweatpants. And looking back at the photos, I felt like such a slob. I was wearing my husband's sweatpants, he's 6'6", so he's a big guy, and an oversized sweatshirt because that's all I brought. And we have this photo of the three of us, my husband, me, and the baby, standing outside of our front door right when we get home from the hospital. And I absolutely hate the photo because I look 3 times what the size that I actually was because the clothes were just huge on me. And 2, I just look like such a slob. And for such a happy moment in my life, I don't look happy because I was not happy about taking the photo. So you really know yourself better than anyone else. So if you think it's better to pack light, you're correct. And if you think that it's better to be prepared for the apocalypse like I was, you are also correct. And at the very least, all you need is your insurance, your ID, and a car seat to bring the baby home in. Everything else is there just to make your stay a little bit more comfortable. So I think the best way to do this is to list off all the items that I had on my packing list. And then if you are interested in seeing what items I actually used, you're more than welcome to check out my blog post on this. And that has a whole list of items that I used while I was in the hospital. But this is just the overall master list that you can personally cross off or add things to it if you think of anything else. And I hope it helps you. So the number one item that you need, they will not let you leave the hospital without one, is a car seat. And it doesn't matter if it's an infant seat or convertible seat, as long as it's rated for infants, you are fine. And our hospital had us bring the infant seat inside, and they actually helped us put baby in the car seat and showed us where the straps had to go and how tight it had to be and everything. And that really made the drive home feel a lot safer. just because we knew that our baby was in there correctly. And they're just so small and fragile right there in the first couple of days of their life. And you're just so worried about messing up that I'm really glad we had the infant seat that we could pull out of the car to make sure that, we put them in there correctly. So in my birth bag, I had a whole list of items. I wanted to pack lotion, chapstick, some Gatorade for me to drink and my husband, a Bluetooth speaker to play my music, an iPad with my charger and downloaded shows from Netflix, a robe, hair ties, fuzzy socks with grips, iPhone chargers for me and husband, and a long extension cord because sometimes the plug can be on the other side of the room, and I definitely wanted to be able to use my phone. If you have an epidural, you can't get up. So lots of snacks mainly for my husband because, again, once you're in active labor at a hospital, they really limit you to clear liquids and jellos, which they provided for me. At least at my hospital, they provided all of that stuff. Cash and change for the vending machines, my birth plan, a copy of my insurance and ID, a copy of my husband's insurance, which is the insurance that the baby was going to go on, registration paperwork, important contact numbers, headphones, hard candies like Jolly Ranchers or the caramel, little caramel squares for me to suck on while I was in labor, gum because sometimes you end up throwing up and you just want that taste out of your mouth, hand sanitizer, and a bathing suit. So some of those items I didn't use at all, such as the bathing suit. I did not labor in the shower at all. And hand sanitizer, I don't think you really need because at hospitals, they have those hand sanitizer dispensers on every corner and in every room. So the next list that I had is for mommy and baby bag. So these are things for me and my son for after he was born in the postpartum room. So I packed a nursing nightgown, which I ended up loving. I will link to that in the show notes. Eye masks because you never know when you're going to want to take a nap, and when the nurses open up the doors, it's just really bright in a hospital just any time of the day. Yoga pants, a nursing tank top, nursing bras, and nursing pads to go inside your bra. I also listed a hoodie, slippers, flip-flops, a hands-free pumping bra, and then in my makeup bag, I had foundation, mascara, toothbrush and toothpaste, Tylenol, which is only for anyone else. They don't want you taking your own medicine. They will provide you for everything, but my husband ended up having a headache, so I was really glad I had that. Prenatal vitamins, because you're going to still want to take them even after delivery, so the milk, if you plan on breastfeeding, so that way your milk has all of the nutrients in it for your baby. Makeup wipes, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, and a washcloth or a loofah, face wash, face lotion, deodorant, and nipple cream, a hairbrush, dry shampoo, and then I also listed a towel, which it totally depends on you. The hospital towels are awful and small and scratchy, but I ended up not packing it because honestly I ran out of room, and I kind of go back and forth on whether it'd be nice to have it. It would definitely be nice to be cozy, but at the same time, I think other things on my list were more important. So if you have the room, it might be nice to bring it, but it's definitely not a necessity. And then I also listed my boppy pillow, which I used every time I breastfed in the hospital. I don't use it a whole lot now that I'm home and kind of have breastfeeding established, but in the hospital, it was definitely a must-have. And for the baby, I listed outfits in different sizes. So I packed 2 short sleeve onesies in newborn and 0 to 3 months, 2 long sleeve onesies in newborn and 0 to 3 months, 2 footy sleeper pajamas in both sizes, and a going home outfit in both sizes. Now, I gave birth in January in the middle of a snowstorm. So if you're giving birth in the middle of summer and you're somewhere with a very warm climate, you're definitely not going to need any long sleeves or anything like that. But I didn't really know what the weather was going to be like when I packed the hospital bag, so I kind of prepared for everything. I also packed him a little jacket, which we definitely needed. 4 pairs of socks, 3 little baby hats, 2 to 3 pairs of mittens so he doesn't scratch himself, 2 receiving blankets, one of which was a customized one that had his name written all over it in the theme of his nursery. So it was really mainly for photos. A cute fluffy blanket, also for photos. I packed some burp cloths, a bib, and a pacifier. And I'm just going to say right now, he did not use any of that stuff besides the hat and the going home outfit. And the hat wasn't even needed. They provided hats for us, but his hat was so cute and it was blue and it matched his little receiving blanket with his name on it. So I kind of liked that also for when he went into the nursery when he had to get like his heel pricks and stuff, just so I could very easily spot out which baby was mine and track him, because all the other babies were wearing the hats that the hospital provided. And I packed my husband's bag because if I would have left it up to him to pack it, he would not have anything that he needed. And I love my husband dearly, but he is not in charge of packing ever. So if you are like me and you're packing for your husband, these are the things I included. If you're one of those women that says my husband is in charge of packing for himself, that's totally fine too. And, good for you. But so in his bag, I packed some boxers, basketball shorts, sweatpants, t-shirts, and then a sweatshirt, but a zip-up one. So that way he could do skin to skin with the baby and not have to take his shirt all the way off just so it wasn't cold or a little uncomfortable. And we actually used the zip feature of the sweatshirt a lot. I also packed him deodorant, a blanket, and pillow. And if you pack these, make sure they're not white because the hospital, you don't want to get them confused with any of the hospital stuff. So I actually packed lime green pillowcases and pillows for us to bring. And I'm really happy I did because we left one in the room on our way out and the nurse came running out saying, "I'm pretty sure this is yours." Versus if it was white, they probably wouldn't have noticed until after we had already left the hospital and it would have been long gone. For him, I also packed a pair of headphones, toothbrush and toothpaste, a towel, because again, he's pretty large, so I wanted him to be comfortable, socks, slippers, some shoes, a laptop, which he didn't end up using, and an HDMI cord. It was on my list. We didn't use it, but I know a lot of moms that said that they were able to stream Netflix from their laptop onto the TV in the hospital room. And that's kind of cool. If you're interested in doing that, you might bring it. I brought the stuff and it never left the bag, so it's totally up to you. And I'm going to go through just a list of some items that my hospital provided. I know it's different for every mom, but at least it'll give you an idea of some items that I took off my list because I knew they were going to provide them for me. So for mom, for me, they provided mesh panties, giant pads, which, no kidding, these things are like the size of like a football in length. They're huge. And they also provided just normal size pads too, just depending on what you prefer. Grip socks, Dermaplast spray, which I highly recommend buying some of this to go in your house for afterwards if you're planning on having a vaginal versus a cesarean delivery. And then they supplied a Perry bottle, spray-on soap, which was really cool for tearing. They provided me with a toothbrush and toothpaste, body wash, and 2-in-1. And they also provided me with all my meals, Jell-O, juice. They had little ice cream snacks for after I delivered. Really, they had a lot of snacks for mom, and I shared with my husband. They really say it's for the patient, but after the bill that they sent me afterwards, I was like, I think they can afford for me to share a little bit of my Jell-O. And for the baby, they provided all the diapers and wipes, swaddle blankets, the hats, and they also had burp cloths. And one really cool thing from my hospital is they send everyone home with a Halo swaddle sleep sack, which we used all the time. And now my son's a little long for it. He doesn't really need to be swaddled anymore, but for definitely the first 4 months of his life, we used that Halo sleep sack almost every single night. We bought a couple more after we left the hospital because we loved it so much. And that is about it for the items on my list. And again, I know that my list is a little ridiculous. And if you just don't want to bring anything, don't bring it. Because chances are, if you don't think you'll need it, you probably won't, just because you're not going to use it. And if you want to see any of these items actually written out, they are on my blog, or I will link to the blog post in my show notes today. So you can go check them out and actually look at a list of them. And again, with a list of items that I actually used. So this week, I decided to talk about the one thing that you need to leave the hospital, and that is your car seat. So we have the Chico Key Fit 30, and we absolutely love it. This infant seat falls within the top 5 best infant seats for almost all major reviewers, and it's listed as number 1 on multiple sites. I'm going to talk about 2 main things, and that's safety and convenience. So for safety, I just want to note that there are a lot of options out there, and as long as they are being sold by a retailer, it means that they've passed the safety standards. The retailers are not allowed to sell car seats that have not passed any safety standards. However, NHTSA, which does all of the safety testings, they do give an overall rating for the ease of use for each car seat. And the Chico is rated with 4 stars overall, and the lowest rated category that brings that down from 5 to 4 is due to the lack of instructions on the labels. Which, for me, I don't really look at the labels. I am kind of the person that reads reviews online or watches YouTube videos. Or in this case, we actually went to a car seat technician, and they personally showed us the proper way to install the seat. So we didn't really have to worry about any lack of labels on the car seat because we didn't need them. And I would highly suggest going and meeting with a technician. My hospital had free car seat checks, and you can also do them at certified places around town. A lot of, fire departments, or my AAA office also does them. And you can learn how to install your car seat properly, and they will show you everything that you need to know. So I personally definitely prefer to be shown by a real person how it works in my specific car versus trying to figure out what those little labels on the side say. The car seat has 3 main features that I love and believe adds totally to the overall safety of the seat. So first, it comes with a level on the base, and this ensures that the seat is installed properly and at the right angle. So according to the Journal of Pediatrics, 95% of infant seats in the US have at least one major thing wrong with how it was installed, which is a crazy number. And this is why I love how easy it was to install the seat. And we got it checked by a CPST, which is a child passenger safety technician. And it was correct. And they make it so easy for you to install yourself. The base only has one tightener that you need to secure on the Chico. And I just think the easier it is to install, the less things that can go wrong with the installation. And it's just safer for your baby. The third thing that I love about this seat is that it has a nice clicking sound when it's latched in correctly to the base. And I've had it happen once or twice where a piece of my son's swaddle blanket was stuck in between the seat and the base. And I could tell right away when I popped the seat in, and it feels like it clicked in, but it didn't actually make that clicking sound. So, you're able to pull it out and look, and I saw the blanket was in the way, moved it and popped it back in, it clicked right up. So it just is that second, round of security, it just ensures that it is in there correctly. And I really enjoy that about it because it's so quick to know whether or not it's in there properly. When it comes to the convenience of this seat, the greatest thing about an infant carrier is the fact that you can pull it out of the car and carry it or click it into a stroller without waking up the baby. You can purchase multiple bases for each of your vehicles or a family member, grandparents, really anyone, but you still only need one car seat. So it saves you a little bit of money in that case versus having to buy a convertible seat for all the cars right off the bat. But just note that if you have an infant carrier, later on you will still have to buy a convertible seat. Because the seat's so popular, it's super easy to find compatible strollers. I love being able to pull the car seat out of the car and quickly just click it into the stroller for an easy way to transfer the baby when we're out shopping or going to multiple stores, instead of having to constantly take him, unstrap him, and take him out of the car seat and carry him or put him into a stroller. With a quick Google search, you can find out if the stroller that you're looking at works with the car seat or if you can buy a separate attachment for it. And because it's so popular, this also opens up more opportunities to buy a used stroller or borrow one from a friend. For instance, we purchased a gently used Bob jogging stroller, and I don't want to fool you, I do not jog, but this is for our long walks. We go outside to a local lake and we walk around it, and it's just really nice to have the Bob stroller. And we bought one from a seller, and the Chico adapter was listed for sale on the same exact day from a completely different seller, which just shows you, how common it is for Chico attachments or strollers that just work with the Chico stroller. Even if the car seat is slightly more expensive than other infant seats, there's other opportunities to save money later on down the road if you end up buying any of the accessories. I've included the link to the standard KeyFit 30 on my show notes, as well as the KeyFit 30 Zip. And really, the main difference between the Zip and the standard is the Zip comes with a zip-on visor for when you want some extra coverage and a zip-off canopy for when you want less coverage. And it also comes with a zip-up boot to keep your baby warm. It kind of zips up around them, and it's extra useful because babies love to kick off blankets, and if you live in a colder climate, it can be really hard to keep the baby covered with, when you're outside and it might be windy or the baby is kind of trying to kick it off. This just kind of zips up so your baby is just warm and snug in the little car seat. So if you live in a warmer climate, you probably don't need the zip, except for the extra canopy. So if it is really sunny, you might actually want to look into that. So I included both of the links in the show notes, so you can take a look at both of them and just determine which one you think is best for your family. I think they're both a great car seat. The base of both of them are identical, so they work on the exact same attachments. And the Zip is just slightly more expensive. And that's all for this week. I want to thank all of you for joining us this week on Growing Our Family Pregnancy Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, growingourfamily.com. That's growingourfamily.com to see today's show notes and product links. Also, don't forget to rate and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you download your podcast so you always get the latest episodes. And if you go to growingourfamily.com/pregnancy podcast, you can see a list of all of the websites that you can actually stream the podcast on, besides obviously iTunes and Stitcher. If you've had your baby or just want to learn more about life after delivery, check out the Growing Our Family Parenting Edition. Please join me next week for another episode.